Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. There are certain events that I cover knowing that there's going to be satanic imagery or some type of agenda behind it. For example, the Super Bowl and the halftime show or the Grammy Awards, they're always filled with satanic symbols and messaging that I show everybody out there so they can see it in plain sight. And the Olympic opening ceremonies are one and the same. I always wait for it to occur, knowing that there's going to be something that I probably need to cover. And in 2024, the Summer Olympic opening ceremony didn't disappoint. It didn't disappoint in the sense of it was filled so much with satanic imagery that you will not believe, that trending worldwide on Twitter while this was going on were words like satanic, Satanism, Sodom, and Gomorrah. It is beyond my comprehension at this point, some of the stuff they're getting away with in plain sight. But this needs to be decoded because there's some things that are very obvious, like you'll see in the clips I'm about to play for you. And then there's a lot of symbolism with what the globalists are trying to create around the world. Something kind of like a French Revolution in a sense. You know, the one that they're honoring here at the Olympics. I kid you not. So here's some clips that I took for you. Hopefully you have a barf bag nearby because you may need to use it, where you can see what the Olympics have turned into. Are they gaslighting people with this or are they serious? It is absolutely an abomination. But the signs and symbols are right in front of us, including things like the pale horse. Take a look.
Ça ira, as I said, ça ira.
Performing the song King. Louis Vuitton.
So that's a lot to uncover. There's the obvious stuff that you see where you have bearded ladies walking the runway, which of course are really bearded men, but you're supposed to call them ladies in 2024 because we're in the upside down. But let's start with a few of these themes because there's a lot of them to talk about. So make sure you watch this in full because you're not going to want to miss any of it. The theme of the French Revolution and a salute to Marie Antoinette is so in front of your faces that it should blow your mind. But most people don't even know what they're referencing. They're referencing the French Revolution that occurred in 1789. You saw some of the bloodshed on the screen. I'll get into Marie Antoinette. For those of you that don't know, let me give you a quick summary of the French Revolution. It occurred in the late 1700s, 1789 to be exact. During this period, does this sound very similar to the same thing they're staging around the earth right now? French citizens radically altered their political landscape, uprooting centuries-old institutions. This is when we saw the rise of Napoleon, who staged a coup d'etat, abolishing the Directory and appointing himself France's first consul. Now, you might say, well, what does that have to do with anything going on in the world? Well, specifically in America, everybody's noticing this, right? Because they're trying to stage something very similar to the French Revolution here in America, but it's not just here in America. Because the same blueprint, which I've shown everybody who's followed my channel for years now, the same exact blueprint with the same exact characters are being played out around the earth right now. For example, in Argentina, Javier Milei, you know, the guy that's getting all this publicity in America, hanging out with Elon Musk, playing the same exact character as Donald Trump, right? And who do they constantly compare Donald Trump to, other than, of course, Hitler? They compare him to Napoleon, Trump and the Napoleonic rule of war. And Trump is just a staged character in everything you see going on right now, just like all of these people in positions of power, like Javier, and like in other countries, we see these people put in positions of power who are causing chaos by design so that they can do what? They can bring in new order. They can destroy centuries-old institutions, which is what you're seeing. So it's so fitting that right now, while this occurs in Paris, they're paying homage to the French Revolution while they're really trying to cause that all around the earth by putting actors in place, running for political positions of power who aren't really running. They're put in these positions, and they're all staging, in a sense, a coup d'etat. But we'll see a bigger one coming with the fake election in November. And this was just setting the precedent for it. So as I continue on it, because there's a lot to uncover, the theme of off with their head, I have to cover the off with their head. Because the fact that they're paying homage at the Olympics to Marie Antoinette is fitting. It's fitting because if you don't know the history of Marie Antoinette was found guilty of 3 charges: conspiring with foreign powers, the depletion of the state treasury, and of committing high treason by acting against the security of the French state. And of course, what happened to Marie was off with their head. And that's where that whole expression off with their heads comes from. It comes from Marie Antoinette. I'm sure you've heard it in Alice in Wonderland or in other MK Ultra programming. But it's very fitting because right now, what you're seeing from the Republicans and the Democrats around the earth is staged sabotage. And they're all guilty of treason. The Republicans and the Democrats, who are working together to do what? Pull the ultimate coup d'etat. And that's what they're doing. So let's move forward past the symbolism of the French Revolution. And of course, Marie Antoinette has her hands rooted in Freemasonry. Of course, her father, the Emperor Francis I, was a Freemason. And people close to Marie were affiliated with Freemasonry and lodges specifically that she was favorable to. So you see the bloodshed. They even show you not just the decapitation and the talking head, which for some people was satanic enough. They show bloodshed all over the screen. So then we get to the real obvious stuff here, right? The mockery that they continue to do. This is why Sodom and Gomorrah was trending. You see them mocking what? The Last Supper, the depiction of the Last Supper, right? You could see that every single person in this Last Supper, for the most part, identifies as the opposite gender. And what is the person at the center who has the crown on its head, referencing Apollo, which again ties in with that orange man. That really is what this theme is about in the long run, at least for us here in America. But you have the sun god worship, the Apollo worship with the crown. And then if you actually look closely, this is really important for people to grasp because I've exposed this symbol. And you never hear anybody talk about this symbol. And it's very important now because this symbol is one of the most prominent symbols. And I believe this symbol is going to be used for the Antichrist. This heart symbol that we see celebrities hold up time and time again. Now, I've exposed this symbol before, but I'll recap it for anybody out there that's new. The heart is a symbol associated with Nimrod among the ancient Babylonians. The word for heart in the Babylonian language was Baal. The heart symbol that you see all of these celebrities holding up is a symbol for Baal, Lord of the Babylonians. That's what it means. That's why Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry, every single celebrity holds this up. And that's why the trans movement holds it up. They want you to think that this has something to do with accepting us. We love you, love everyone, tolerate everyone. It's deception. Everybody knows that the heart inside your body looks nothing like that symbol. But does anybody ever ask why that symbol is associated with the organ inside of our bodies? No, they don't. Because they don't want you to know why they've normalized these signs and symbols. And Baal worship, Antichrist worship, these are things that are getting normalized in front of us, like the all-seeing eye symbol that we see every single celebrity do every single time they're photographed on a magazine cover. There's a picture of every celebrity holding one hand up over their eye, and there's an eye on the back of your dollar bill, but nobody connects the dots about these secret societies who run and control everything. Signs and symbols rule the world. The heart symbol is in reference to Baal. That's why the LGBT have adopted that symbol, and all these celebrities push it on you, and now you see all of these. I've seen pictures of kids taking their college yearbook photos or their graduation photos, putting it up outside their home. This is a new thing that people do apparently. And the kids are holding up the heart symbol. They don't have the slightest clue what it means. They think it just means love and happiness. Well, guess what? The Antichrist is going to come in the name of love. It is the symbol of Baal. Speaking of Baal, he had to make an appearance, didn't he? Of course, there's a giant golden statue of Baal right on the stage, prominently placed. Because again, the Olympics themselves, the Olympic Games, are paying homage to the God of this world. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. The God of this world is Lucifer, and that is what this entire charade of the Olympic ceremony, which is Apollo worship, is really about. As we continue on from the Baal worship, we see a reference to a pale horse. I don't think they're paying homage to Bill Cooper's book, Behold the Pale Horse. What we're obviously seeing is, once again, them referencing the four horsemen of the apocalypse. This is a common theme that they're doing right now, right in front of us all the time. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. And this is a common theme that we're seeing, the pale horse. Now, I've covered Beyonce, who they are rolling out time and time again with these biblical references to the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The pale horse, the black horse, the red horse, the white horse. You can see pictures of Beyonce prominently doing this, but the audience out there watching is too dumbed down to even realize what they're seeing. This is biblical. This has to do with the stuff that you see going on around the earth right now. Prophecy is playing out. And again, as we move forward in this event, of course, everybody knows of the lighting of the torch, but they never think anything of it, of what the lighting of the torch is. And I've covered the eternal flame and its roots, why John F. Kennedy has the eternal flame on his grave. And it means the obvious, infinite, which is a theme of the New World Order. Infinite, recreation, never leaving, that they're infinite. And that's what the eternal flame stands for, but it's also the eternal flame of Lucifer. And of course, why wouldn't they roll out a Luciferian that makes no sense whatsoever to have any affiliation with the Olympics? They rolled out Snoop Dogg. Now, nobody knows. You'd be very hard-pressed to find anybody that knows why Snoop Dogg is as famous as he is. Most people couldn't even name 2 Snoop Dogg songs, let alone 1 Snoop Dogg song. But Snoop Dogg, of course, is playing his role in the New World Order, and nobody questions what he's famous for. They just roll him out day in and day out. You might remember, of course, that he was buddy-buddy with Donald Trump and then conveniently showed himself assassinating Donald Trump in one of his music videos for a song that nobody knows, because again, nobody knows any Snoop Dogg songs for the most part, right? And again, I showed you this predictive programming with the Trump assassination in the compilation of clips that have seed planted in people's minds without them even realizing you've been getting shown the assassination attempt of Donald Trump for years and years and years, 8 years plus to be exact. So Snoop Dogg was friends with him until, of course, he became president. Then he decided to put in predictive programming in his music video of him shooting the president. But of course, he wasn't arrested for any type of threat towards the sitting president, right? And of course, what else do we see with Snoop Dogg? Well, he's decided that he wants to wear a little necklace in his photos for the Olympics. And what's the necklace of? Well, it's of the Baphomet, the goat. Now, most people will see this because the dumbed down people out there will laugh when they hear me talking about the GOAT because they've been trained that GOAT means the greatest of all time. So every celebrity can now get away with having a Baphomet on their shirt, tattooed on their neck, wherever. They just say that, well, it means the greatest of all time. They don't ask themselves for 5 seconds if Snoop Dogg is the greatest of all time, if anybody ever has said that Snoop Dogg is the greatest rapper of all time, because nobody's ever said that. And that's why every rinky-dink celebrity can get away with calling themselves the GOAT and wearing all this goat jewelry. This is satanic worship. That is the Baphomet right on his neck. And that's why they've normalized things like goat yoga right in front of your faces and nobody's paid attention to it. And that's why they can take acronyms and they can take all these things affiliated with Baphomet and normalize it and get away with it because they know that society is too dumb to figure out what's going on, and they've been trained when they hear someone like me explain it to them to dismiss it and not accept it. So going along with the theme of Baphomet, again, they also had the theme tied in of Assassin's Creed. Now, the villains in Assassin's Creed, but again, are they really villains? They're pretty much keeping their name in the spotlight by being associated with a popular game like Assassin's Creed, are the Knights Templar. And for people out there that don't know, the theme of Friday the 13th and what it comes from the execution of the Knights Templar, who were executed because of their Baphomet worship and the depravity that they were involved in and the scheming and other things. Kind of like the stuff you see going on in today's world out in the open. And people took care of the Knights Templar for their worship of the Baphomet. That's why they tell you that Friday the 13th is a day you should be afraid of, because you shouldn't actually be afraid of it. Everything's inverted. It's a day that the elites hate, that the wicked hate, because it's a day that people stood up against satanic worship. So they did a little homage to Assassin's Creed as well. But let's recap all the depravity that we saw, right? We see them constantly doing this. They're doing this not just to gaslight us. They're doing this because, again, the repetition. The more they show us men dressed as women, bearded men, bearded ladies, whatever you want to call it. Whatever. I don't really know what to call it other than nauseating at this point. But they're doing it and they're gaslighting people with it. And then, of course, they're allowed to make blasphemy of the Last Supper by doing a Last Supper for trans, which is a common theme. I've covered in a lot of music videos over the years. Even Madonna had a photo shoot. There's nothing artistic about it. They're allowed to mock you for your beliefs if you're a Christian, but you're not allowed to say boo about a man wearing a dress. So there's two sides to this thing, because they want you to think the knight in shining armor to save everybody from the madness is Donald Trump, but he's also tied into the theme of this entire Olympic opening ceremony, because we have our fake elections coming up. We have what we just saw go down in France. We're literally seeing a staged coup d'etat. That's what we're literally seeing. These people stage around us. They're sabotaging our government structure. They're sabotaging our centuries-old institutions, and they're making you think that you're doing it. They're making Republicans think that Democrats are doing it, and Democrats are thinking that Republicans are doing it. But it's really just a group of these Napoleons like Trump who are actually doing it on purpose. And then, of course, blaming the other political party when the people in power are actually all working together. So you saw the heart symbol as well, which I talked about, which is the symbol of Baal. You saw the Baal statue. These are all deceptions that they want people to fall into. And behold, a pale horse. What a surprise. Again, they're using these themes from Revelation, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. It's a very common thing that they're doing over and over and over again. So the Olympic ceremonies didn't disappoint if you were somebody who wanted to get angry and see the Satanism in this world. But of course, this stuff is getting flashed in front of us day in and day out. And the way you respond to things like this, at least the way that I do, is pointing out what they're saying and what they're showing you. It's very easy to get angry when we see all this satanic filth around us. But don't forget that the messaging to all this stuff goes deeper, because it's not just, oh, there's drag queens, everybody should be mad about it. How about the heart symbol? How about these things that they tell us mean one thing but don't? They want you to, without you even realizing it, hold up these signs and symbols without realizing you're paying homage to their god, Lucifer. So don't do it, and be aware of what's going on. You even have the statue of Baal on stage at the Olympics, and they won't come out and tell you it's Baal. They'll be like, it's a bull. We like the rodeo. We're from Texas. What? Huh? Because that's all that they have to say. And people just go, oh yeah, they're overreacting, thinking it's satanic, thinking it's this. Oh yeah? How about connecting the dots with the French Revolution, everything going on in the world? Very easy to see what's going on. I thank everybody for being here. Share this video with others. Get the word out. I thank you guys again. God bless all of you and your families as always.